wrong word. The human sat in the corner of the alien hall, his hands tight around the metal cup of strange blue drink. He felt out of place, like a shadow in a world that did not belong to him. The aliens around him were tall, elegant, their voices soft but cold. They looked at him sometimes, not with hate, but with curiosity, like he was something unusual that had wandered in by mistake. Among them stood the girl. She was smaller than the rest of her kind, though still taller than him by a few inches. Her skin shimmered faint silver under the light, her hair thin and bright like glass threads. Her eyes glowed faintly, changing color when she moved. Her name was long, strange, filled with sounds he could not shape correctly. He had practiced her name many times, whispering it at night to himself. Still, when he tried to speak it, the sound came out wrong, broken, clumsy on his human tongue. The aliens often laughed at his attempts, but she never laughed. She only tilted, her head listening, her face unreadable. Tonight the hall was loud, full of talk. They had gathered for some kind of meal. The human was tired, hungry, but careful. Every move of his hand was being watched. When the girl walked past him carrying a crystal bowl, he tried again to call her name, to show respect, to show that he was learning, but his tongue twisted. The alien sounds slipped away, and instead, the human word escaped his lips like a mistake. Lovely. The hall went silent. It was as if the air itself froze. Every alien turned toward him, their glowing eyes sharp and burning. The girl stopped moving. The bowl trembled in her hands, liquid spilling over the side. Her face turned bright, glowing with strange colors across her cheeks. The human's heart jumped in fear. Had he insulted her? Had he said something forbidden? He wanted to correct himself, to explain, but the words stuck in his throat. He only stared at her, helpless. For a long moment, no one spoke. The other aliens whispered to one another, their words fast, their tones sharp. He could not understand their language well, but he felt their suspicion, their judgment. He lowered his eyes, ashamed, certain he had made a terrible mistake. But then, her voice broke the silence, soft, trembling, not angry but strange. She whispered, her eyes wide. "Say it again, human." The human lifted his head, shocked. He had expected anger, punishment, maybe even to be thrown out. Instead, she looked at him with something he had never seen in her before. Her glowing eyes were wet, almost shining with hidden emotion. Her body shook, her silver skin glowing faint pink around her face. He didn't understand. Why did she react like this? What did that word mean to her? It was just a human word, a simple word he had used many times before. But for her it seemed heavy, powerful, like a secret gift she had never received. The other aliens murmured louder, some shocked, some frowning. But the girl ignored them. Her attention was only on him. Her lips parted again, her voice firmer this time, though still soft. "Say it again." The human's throat went dry. Should he? Would it make things worse? Would it put him in danger? But something in her eyes held him. It was not a command, not a threat. It was a plea, a request born from something deep inside her. Slowly, nervously, he spoke. "Lovely." The glow on her cheeks deepened. Her breath caught. Her hands clutched the bowl tighter, but she did not drop it. Instead, she looked at him as if the whole world had changed, as if a door had opened in her heart that had always been locked. He could not explain what he was seeing. He only knew one thing. That word, which had slipped by mistake, had touched her in a way no one else had before. The other aliens did not understand. They whispered among themselves about broken rules, about human foolishness. But the girl, she smiled just barely. A small trembling smile. A smile that carried both fear and secret happiness. The human sat frozen, his own chest tight with confusion. What had he done? What had he started with just one word? The hall's noise slowly returned, though quieter, heavier. But between him and her, silence remained. A silence filled with something dangerous, something forbidden, something that could not be taken back. She looked at him one last time that night, her voice almost too soft for anyone else to hear. "Say it again." But only for me. And then she walked away, her steps unsteady, leaving the human staring after her, his heart beating too fast, knowing that the mistake he had made was no mistake at all. It was the beginning of something far greater. Something that might change both their lives forever. The human could not sleep that night. The word lovely echoed in his head again and again. He had not planned to say it. It had slipped out by accident, yet the alien girl's reaction would not leave. His memory, her glowing cheeks, her trembling voice, her strange request. Say it again, human. He turned in his small bed, staring at the dim lights above. What had he done? Why had such a simple human word shaken her so deeply? He thought maybe it was forbidden, maybe dangerous, but her eyes had not held anger. They had held longing, something soft, something she had tried to hide from the others. The next morning, when he walked into the alien hall, he felt the weight of many eyes on him. The aliens whispered as he passed. Some looked at him with suspicion, some with curiosity. He felt like every step was being judged. He kept his head low, pretending not to notice. But she noticed. The girl stood with her people, tall silver figures around her. They spoke among themselves, ignoring the human, yet her eyes kept flicking toward him, quick, secret glances. Whenever their eyes met, she looked away, her cheeks glowing faintly again. The human felt a nervous heat rise in his chest. Why was she staring? Why did she avoid him the moment he caught her? Was she angry or was she shy? Later, when he went to fetch water from the crystal basin, she came close, too close. Her steps were quiet, her face turned slightly away, but her voice reached him, in a low whisper. You should not have said that word here, she told him. Her tone sounded like a warning, but her voice was not steady. It shook. Do you know what you did? The human swallowed. He wanted to defend himself, but honesty was all he had. I was only trying to say your name, he explained. It came out wrong, and I didn't mean to upset you. She turned her eyes to him then. They glowed soft blue this time. There was no anger in them, only confusion and something deeper. You upset me, but not in the way you think, she whispered. No one has ever called me something like that before. The human blinked. Something like what? He asked. She hesitated, looking away again. Her silver fingers tightened around the basin's edge. Lovely, she repeated softly. The word sounded strange, in her alien tongue, but when she spoke it, her cheeks glowed brighter, as if I were beautiful, important, seen. The human stood silent. His heart ached without reason. How could a single word mean so much to her? Had no one ever said kind things to her before? He had thought it was a small accident, but to her it was something she had never known. Her voice trembled. My people. We do not use such words, she explained. We use titles, ranks, positions. We are soldiers, workers, leaders. Not lovely. She looked at him then, her eyes wet, her lips trembling like she was confessing a secret, but when you said it, I felt alive. For the first time, I felt like more than just a role. The human felt his chest tighten. She was more than just a role, more than a soldier. He could see it in her smile, in the way she carried pain beneath her calm face. And yet her own people had never given her the simplest gift of kindness. Just one word that he had given by mistake had touched her heart. Before he could answer, footsteps approached. Two tall aliens came near, glaring at the human, their voices sharp as they spoke to the girl in their own tongue. The human could not understand every word, but he caught enough. They were warning her, telling her to stay away from him, telling her that the human was dangerous, that he had no place in their traditions. Her cheeks dimmed, her eyes dropped. For a moment she looked like she would obey, but then her fingers brushed the basin again, close to his hand. Her voice was low, so only he could hear. Meet me tonight, alone. I must hear it again. Then she pulled away, walking back to her people, her head held high, pretending nothing had happened. But the glow on her cheeks betrayed her, and the human knew. Whatever this was, it was not finished. That night the human sat awake again, his mind spinning with questions. Why him? Why that word? Why would she risk her people's anger for something so small? But deep inside he knew the answer. It was not small to her. It was everything she had never been given, and now she wanted it again, from him, and only him. The hall outside was quiet. The stars glowed beyond the alien glass windows, and somewhere in the shadows he felt her eyes waiting for him, waiting to hear the word once more. The word that had already bound them in a dangerous secret. The human waited in the quiet garden outside the alien hall. Tall crystal-like trees shimmered under the twin moons, their silver leaves glowing faintly. The air was cold, carrying strange scents, and every sound echoed as if the place itself was alive. He kept glancing around nervously, unsure if he was breaking some rule just by standing there. Then he saw her. The alien girl stepped out from the shadows, her long silver cloak brushing against the glowing grass. She looked different away from her people, less guarded, less strict. Her eyes flickered with nervous light as she approached. For a moment she said nothing, only stood in front of him, her hands clutched together. "You came," she whispered. Her voice softer than the night air. The human nodded. "You asked me to." Her cheeks glowed faintly again, but she quickly looked away. For a long moment she was silent, as if searching for courage inside herself. Finally, she spoke, her voice trembling. "My people, they don't believe in words like yours," she said. "They believe such words make us weak, make us soft." She paused, her glowing eyes flicking up to meet his. "When you called me lovely, it was not just strange, it was dangerous." The human frowned. "Dangerous?" "It was just a word." She shook her head quickly, silver hair glinting under the moons. "No, not here. In our culture, words of affection are forbidden. We are trained from birth to be useful, to be strong. We are soldiers before we are children. We are tools before we are people." Her voice cracked on the last word. The human felt his chest tighten. She was not telling him something small. She was giving him a piece of her soul. He stayed quiet, letting her continue. "When I was young," she whispered, "I once asked my mother if she thought I was beautiful. She struck me for weakness. She told me beauty was nothing, only strength mattered. Since then, no one has spoken a kind word to me. No one. Until you." Her eyes filled with something wet and strange, tears that glowed faintly under the alien light. The human felt a deep hack. He had grown up in a world where words of kindness were simple, common, but for her it was something she had been starved of all her life. One small mistake of his tongue had opened a door inside her that had always been locked. "Do you understand now?" she asked softly, her voice shaking. "Your word. Lovely. It is not just a mistake. It is a seed. It grows in me even if I fear it. I should reject it. I should call you foolish. But..." Her voice broke again, and she turned her face away, ashamed. "But I cannot. I want to hear it again. I want to believe it." The human stepped closer, unsure if he was allowed, but something in her trembling shoulders told him she needed him near. He whispered carefully, "Lovely." The word floated into the cold night air, and her whole body froze. Her glowing cheeks deepened, her lips parted, her breath quickened. She looked at him as though he had given her something priceless, something forbidden. Suddenly a sharp sound echoed in the distance. Voices, other aliens, moving through the halls. Her eyes widened in panic. "They must not see us," she hissed, grabbing his wrist. She pulled him behind the crystal trees, her hand cold but shaking. They crouched in silence as two tall alien guards passed nearby, speaking in harsh tones. The human could not understand all the words, but he caught enough. They spoke of him, the outsider, the human who had broken their order. Her grip on his wrist tightened. Only when the guards were gone did she release him. Her breath was heavy, her glowing eyes filled with both fear and determination. "They will not understand," she whispered. "If they discover what you called me, if they discover I allowed it, they will punish me. Maybe even remove me from my position." The human frowned. "For one word? That's madness." She shook her head. "For them, it is more than madness. It is law. To speak such words is to betray the strength of our people. But I..." I do not care anymore. Her voice broke again. She reached up, touching her own cheek where the glow was strongest. When you said it, I felt like I was not just another soldier, like I was real, alive. I do not want to lose that feeling. The human looked at her, his heart pounding. He knew now that this was no simple accident. The word had become a secret between them, a dangerous bond that could cost them both dearly. But as he met her eyes glowing with tears and hope, he also knew something else. He could never take it back, and he did not want to. Then I will keep saying it, he whispered firmly. For you. And only you. Her lips parted in shock. For a moment she looked afraid. Then slowly, the smallest smile curved her mouth. Fragile, trembling, but real. No one else had ever seen her smile like that, not in all her years among her people. She whispered, almost like a prayer. Say it again, human. And he did. And with every repetition, the word grew heavier, more powerful, until both of them knew. This was no longer a mistake. It was the beginning of a secret that could shatter her people's laws and change both of their lives forever. The human sat alone in his small chamber, the faint hum of alien machines filling the silence. He could not stop thinking about her, about the way her glowing cheeks had deepened when he whispered that word again. He knew it was dangerous. He knew. Her people's rules were strict, but the look in her eyes told him she needed it. For the first time since he arrived in this strange world, he felt that maybe he had something valuable to give. The night stretched on, and just as he began to drift into uneasy sleep, a soft knock echoed at his door. He sat up quickly, his heart racing. Who would come here at this hour? When he opened the door, he froze. It was her, cloaked in silver fabric, her glowing eyes lowered, her voice barely more than a whisper. May I come in? She asked. He stepped aside without a word, and she slipped inside, closing the door quickly behind her. Her movements were nervous, her shoulders tense. She looked around the room, as if making sure they were truly alone. Then she turned back to him, her hands twisting together. I should not be here, she whispered, but I cannot. Stay away. The human frowned softly. They will punish you if they find out. Her glowing eyes lifted to his, trembling but firm. I know, she said, but it is worse for me to remain silent. I cannot carry this weight alone. She stepped closer, the distance between them shrinking. Her silver skin caught the dim light glowing faintly. He could feel the strange warmth radiating from her, though she kept her hands close to herself. When you said that word, she began, her voice shaking, it did something to me. My whole life I have been called by rank, by duty, by strength, nothing else, never anything soft, never anything warm. Her voice broke, her throat tight. She looked down, ashamed. I wanted to hear it again. I wanted to believe you, meant it. The human swallowed hard. He did not want to lie. He nodded slowly. I did mean it. Her head snapped up, her eyes wide with shock. You did? She asked, her voice trembling as if she feared the answer. He gave a small smile. Yes, lovely, that's what you are. The word left his lips again, simple but heavy. Her whole body froze, her glowing cheeks deepening in color. She pressed a hand over her chest as if to hold her heart steady. For a moment she looked like she might cry. Then, slowly, she let out a shaky breath. No one has ever said that to me before, she whispered. Her voice cracked with raw emotion. She stepped closer until only a hand's length separated them. Her eyes shone bright, locked onto his face. Say it again, she pleaded. Softer this time, only for me. The human whispered it again. Lovely. Her eyes fluttered shut, her lips trembling with a fragile smile. She leaned closer, not touching, but near enough that he could feel her breath. For a long moment they stood in silence, the air between them thick with things unsaid. Finally she opened her eyes. Her voice was low, almost shaking. Do humans always speak like this? Do you always see others this way? The human thought carefully, then answered honestly. We don't always. But when we see someone who matters, we say it. Because the truth should not stay silent. Her lips parted, her eyes wet with faint, glowing tears. She looked as if she had been starving all her life and he had given her food. Her hand trembled as she raised it, then stopped in the air. She did not dare touch him, but her longing was clear. "I wish I had been born human," she whispered. The words fell from her lips like a secret she had never dared speak. Her voice cracked with pain. "In my world, affection is weakness. In your world, it is life. You have no idea how much I envy you." The human felt a lump in his throat. He wanted to reach out to take her hand, but he knew even a touch might be dangerous for her. Instead, he leaned forward slightly, his voice steady. "You don't need to be human. You just need someone to remind you that you are more than what they say you are." Her breath caught, her cheeks glowed bright pink, and then for the first time in her life she smiled openly. Not a fragile smile, but a full, trembling smile of someone who had just felt alive for the very first time. But the moment did not last long. Outside the hall, sharp footsteps echoed. She stiffened, panic flashing across her glowing eyes. "They must not see me here," she whispered quickly, pulling her cloak tighter around her. She turned to leave, but before she reached the door, she looked back at him one last time. "Tomorrow meet me again," she said, her voice urgent. "There are things about my people you do not know, things I must tell you. If you understand them, then maybe you will understand me." And before he could answer, she was gone, slipping into the shadows, leaving the human alone, his chest pounding. He sat down heavily, his mind racing. He knew now that this was no accident, no harmless mistake. The word he had spoken had created something powerful, something dangerous. And tomorrow, when she revealed the secrets of her people, his life would change forever. The human had not expected the whispers to spread so quickly, but by the next day he felt the difference in the way the aliens looked at him. Their glowing eyes lingered longer, their conversations hushed the moment he entered a room. Even the servants who once ignored him now avoided his gaze. Something had changed, and he knew it was connected to her. The girl did not approach him in the hall that day. She stayed close to her people, her posture stiff and her face unreadable. Yet, every so often he caught her sneaking quick glances at him. When their eyes met, her cheeks glowed faintly before she turned away. Her act was convincing to the others, but to him, it was clear. She was hiding something fragile, something precious. Later, when the hall emptied for training drills, he walked through the crystal garden. The strange trees glimmered under the pale light, their sharp branches humming with soft energy. He felt uneasy, as though unseen eyes were following him. Then, behind the tall stone pillars she appeared, her cloak pulled tight, her eyes darting nervously. "You should not be here," she whispered urgently. He frowned. "You asked me to come?" "Yes, but not here, not in the open. My people already whisper. They suspect something." Her voice was tight, full of tension. She stepped closer, lowering her voice further. "If they discover what you said to me, and that I accepted it, it will not end well." The human's chest tightened. "I never meant to put you in danger," he said softly. Her glowing eyes locked onto his, her voice trembling. "Danger is worth it. For the first time I feel alive. But if they catch us..." She trailed off, her lips trembling. Her hand almost reached for his before she pulled it back quickly. Her eyes flicked around as though the very air might betray them. Then, from the far side of the garden, sharp voices rang out. Two tall alien soldiers appeared, their armor shining under the light. They walked slowly, scanning the area. The girl stiffened, panic in her eyes. "They must not see us together," she hissed, grabbing his wrist. She pulled him behind one of the thick crystal trees. Her body pressed close to his as they crouched in silence. The human felt the quick rhythm of her breath against his chest. Her glowing cheeks burned brighter as their faces nearly touched. For a long, breathless moment, they did not move. The soldiers passed, their voices sharp. "The human does not belong here." Strange words, dangerous influence. The human caught only fragments, but he understood enough. They were talking about him, about them, and if they discovered the truth, it would mean punishment for her, Maybe worse. The soldiers moved on, their footsteps fading. The girl stayed still for a moment longer, her grip tight on his wrist. When she finally released him, her hands trembled. Her voice was low, almost breaking. Do you see now? Even the walls carry ears. Even the shadows watch. The human nodded. I see, but I can't stop what I feel, he admitted. Her eyes widened slightly. What you feel? She whispered. He hesitated, then answered. When I called you lovely, it wasn't just a mistake anymore. It was the truth. Her breath caught, her glowing eyes softening. She pressed a hand over her chest, as if to steady her racing heart. You should not say such things, she whispered, but her voice carried no anger, only longing. Her lips parted slightly, her cheeks glowing brighter. I want to hear it again, but only when no one else can. The human's chest ached. This was more than attraction, more than danger. It was a fragile rebellion, a rebellion against her people's cold laws, against the silence that had caged her all her life. But it came at a risk, a heavy risk, and every glance, every word they shared could be the one that exposed them. From above the garden, the sound of a horn echoed. The girl stiffened, pulling her cloak tighter. They call me, she whispered, her voice shaking. She turned to leave but stopped, looking back at him one last time. Her voice was soft, trembling with hope and fear. Tonight, meet me again. If they see us, it will mean ruin. But I do not care. I must hear it again. Before he could respond, she was gone, swallowed by the shadows of the crystal path. The human stood alone, his pulse racing. The truth was clear now. Every step forward with her would bring greater danger. Every word he spoke could bind them closer, or destroy them both. Yet as he stood beneath the glowing leaves, the memory of her trembling voice returned. Say it again, human. Only for me. And he knew, no matter the risk, he would not stop. The human had known this moment would come. Every secret meeting, every whispered word carried risk. And now, the risk had finally caught up to them. It began in the great hall. The aliens stood in a circle, their glowing eyes sharp and cold. At the center stood the girl, her cloak drawn tight, her head lowered, and beside her stood the human, summoned by the guards who had dragged him here. He could feel the heavy silence pressing on his chest. Something was about to break. The leader of her people stepped forward, tall and severe. His silver skin gleamed under the pale light. His voice, deep and cutting. We have heard the whispers, he said, his eyes narrowing at the human. You have spoken forbidden words to one of our own. The human's heart raced. He wanted to deny it, to say it was all a mistake, but before he could open his mouth, the leader turned to the girl. And worse, you did not reject it. You accepted it. The hall stirred with low murmurs. The human glanced at her. She stood still, trembling slightly, but her glowing eyes lifted with quiet strength. Her lips parted, and in a voice that shook but did not break, she spoke. It is true. The hall erupted with gasps and angry whispers. The human's chest tightened. She had confessed openly. He expected her to bow her head, to apologize, but she did not. Instead, she stepped forward, standing between him and her leader. He called. Me something no one here has ever called me before, she said. Her glowing cheeks flared, her voice rising. He called me lovely. The crowd hissed, some in anger, some in shock. The leader's face hardened like stone. Such words are weakness, he thundered. They have no place in our order. And you dare to accept them? Her hands trembled, but she did not back down. She turned, her glowing eyes locking onto the human's. Her voice softened, trembling but filled with raw truth. It may be weakness to you, but to me, it was life. The human's breath caught. He could not believe the courage she showed in front of her people, but he saw the cost in her trembling hands, in the way her lips shook as she forced the words out. The leader's voice roared again. You would risk your honor, your place, your future for a human's mistake? The girl's jaw tightened and she shook her head. It was no mistake. He meant it. And I choose it. The hall fell silent. Her words hung in the air like fire. The human's chest burned with emotion, pride, and fear all at once. The leader's eyes turned to him, sharp and accusing. You, human. Did you truly mean this word you gave her? The human swallowed, his throat dry. He knew his answer would decide everything. If he lied, maybe he could escape punishment. But if he told the truth, he would put her in even greater danger. He looked at her, standing tall despite her trembling. Her glowing eyes begged him silently, "Don't take this away from me," and so he spoke, his voice steady. "Yes, I meant it. She is lovely." Gasps filled the hall again. The leader's face darkened with fury, but before he could speak, the girl stepped forward, her voice breaking but strong. "Punish me if you must, but I will not deny it. I will not go back to silence." The human's chest swelled with both fear and admiration. She was risking everything, standing against her people for a word. For him, it had been an accident. But for her, it was rebellion, it was freedom. The leader raised his hand, his voice like thunder. "Enough. You will be judged. Both of you." The guards moved closer, their heavy steps echoing through the hall. For a moment, the human thought it was over, that they would both be dragged away, but then she turned to him, her voice soft enough for only him to hear. "Don't be afraid. Even if they chain me, even if they cast me out, your word will stay with me. Forever." The guards surrounded them, their glowing weapons ready. The hall watched in tense silence, but the human's heart was no longer filled with fear. He reached out, taking her hand in front of everyone. Gasps filled the hall once more. And in that moment, with the whole world watching, he whispered it again. "Lovely." Her glowing cheeks flared brighter than ever before. Her lips trembled with a smile even as the guards moved in. The leader's voice roared with fury, but it was too late. The word had been spoken, the bond sealed, and as they were dragged forward, side by side, the human knew one thing with certainty. No matter what punishment awaited, they had changed something in this hall tonight, something that could never be undone. The chamber of judgment was cold. Tall walls of crystal shimmered, reflecting the pale glow of alien fire. The human and the girl were forced to kneel in the center, surrounded by silent guards, every pair of glowing eyes fixed on them, the weight of the entire people pressed down like stone. The leader stood high above. His voice rang sharp. "You have broken the order. You have spoken forbidden words. You have shamed us before your kind." His eyes burned with anger. "And you, child of our blood, you chose to accept it. That is worse than the human's crime." The girl's body trembled. Her glowing cheeks burned, but she did not lower her head. She reached slowly for the human's hand. The guards shifted, ready to strike, but she ignored them. Her fingers brushed his, and she whispered softly, "Only for him. Don't let them silence you. Not now." The human's chest tightened. He had never felt so small, so powerless, yet at the same time so sure. He squeezed her hand, his eyes lifting to meet the leader's glare. "I will not take back what I said," the human declared. His voice echoed across the chamber, trembling but firm. "She is lovely, and no punishment can erase that truth." Gasps filled the room. Some voices muttered in outrage, others in confusion, but the girl's eyes widened, glowing brighter. Her lips parted with a shaky smile. The word had been spoken again, not in secret, not in the shadows, but here, in front of everyone. The leader's face hardened. "You defy us still?" he thundered. "You think your weak words carry strength?" The human's voice rose, stronger now. "Yes, they do. Strength is not only in weapons or laws or silence. Strength is in kindness, in hope, in giving someone the truth they were denied." He turned to the girl, his voice softening. "You are not only a soldier, you are more. You are lovely." Her glowing eyes filled with tears. For years she had hidden her heart, crushed under rules that forbade warmth. But now, before her people, before the one who led them, she was no longer afraid. She rose to her feet, ignoring the guards who tried to pull her back. Her voice rang out, trembling but clear. "I accept his word. I accept it, and I will not deny it." She looked at the crowd, her cheeks glowing brighter than any of them had ever seen. "You call it weakness. I call it freedom. For the first time in my life, I feel alive. The chamber erupted. Some shouted in outrage, some in shock. But among the younger aliens, whispers of wonder spread. They had never heard such words spoken, never seen such defiance. The human could feel the shift, small, fragile, but real. The cue. Leader raised his hand for silence. His voice was heavy. If you choose this path, you are no longer one of us. You will be cast out. You will lose your name, your place, your bloodline. The girl's lips trembled, her whole body shook, but then she turned to the human, her voice breaking with courage. If that is the price, then I will pay it. For him. For the word he gave me. For what it means. The human stood beside her. He felt the danger pressing down, but he also felt pride. Together they faced the hall. Together they stood against the weight of her people. The leader's glare burned. So be it. Leave this place. You are nothing to us now. The guard stepped back. The crowd parted. The human and the girl walked side by side through the silent hall, each step heavy, each step filled with fear and freedom both. Outside, under the twin moons, the cold night air rushed over them. The girl's body shook, but her glowing eyes burned with new fire. She turned to him, her voice soft and breaking. You gave me something they never could. You gave me myself. The human swallowed hard. His chest full of words he could not say, so instead, he whispered the only word that mattered. Lovely. Her breath caught, her lips trembling into a smile. Say it again, she whispered, her voice shaking with tears and joy. Say it again, human. Forever. He took her hands in his. Their worlds, their laws, their people no longer mattered. Only this moment did. And as the stars shone above them, he whispered again, steady and certain. Lovely. She pressed her forehead gently against his, her glowing, cheeks bright as fire, her voice broke with happiness. Then I will carry that word with me. Always. And in that quiet, fragile night, a mistake had become a vow. A forbidden word had become their truth. And though the path ahead was uncertain, they walked it together, hand in hand, bound by one word forever.